Welcome to the City of Atlanta Department of Procurement Supplier Training. Today's agenda is viewing and responding to solicitations. You will go to atlantaga.gov, hover over Government, and click on Procurement. From there, click Supplier Central, and then scroll down to log in. Once you have logged in, you may see a house icon, click on that, and then you'll see this orange Supplier Portal button. Again, you need to log in if you're going to respond to a solicitation or view more details about a solicitation. When you click on the orange icon, you enter your Supplier Portal desktop. We have an option to search over here. We can search on orders, agreements, invoices, payments, solicitations, and solicitation responses. So you can choose solicitations for the search and either search by number or title if you know it. Or if you just want to browse, you can click on View Active Solicitations. When you first come into this screen, it may not display any results in this search results grid. So what I'm going to first tell you is how to ensure that you have search results here. Anywhere in Oracle that has these double asterisks, it means that you need to fill in at least one of these pieces of information. So at least one value in these 4 fields. So what I recommend is that you make sure everything is blank, and you can do that by just clicking the down arrow and choosing a blank spot or backing out any values here in the field. And then in the solicitation close by field, put in a future date. For example, I have June 1st of 2025, which is a little ways into the future. When you then click search, you will have search results here, and the system has collapsed the search results, the search criteria area. But we want to expand that search criteria area one more time in order to save this search. And I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to select these 2 options, set as default and run automatically. What these mean are set as default makes it the top search criteria in my list, and run automatically means it will automatically run and I will see these results the next time I come to this page. And then click OK. So this is a one-time setup thing that you have to do. Again, you can collapse and expand this search module by clicking on the triangle next to the word, this search area. And so now I have saved my active _ solicitations search list or criteria. So when I click done, and the done button is always going to just close the screen and take you back to a previous screen. It does not save anything you haven't already saved. So now when I click on view active solicitations, it has run that query and it gives me my search results. So again, I recommend that you put in this search criteria, just put in a future close date as the only value, and then click search and then click save. That's the one-time setup so that you have your search in Oracle. So bringing our attention down here to the search results grid. These are all the different solicitations that are active in the system. So we have multiple. We have in this grid the solicitation number, the title, the type, time remaining on it, the close date, and then it has a column, any responses I've already created. You can see I've created 1. We may not use the will participate flag. That's just if you receive an invitation to a particular solicitation, so you may or may not use this. And then we do not use the messaging feature right now in solicitations in Oracle. And then the last column here is view PDF, which just lets you download a PDF version of the whole solicitation. So scrolling back over to the left, I want to talk a little bit more about these first 3 columns. And you can sort ascending or descending by clicking on the triangles in the column header. And so there are a couple different options here. We can sort alphabetically by title if we want to, ascending or descending. And then let's talk about the type. The type here is the type of solicitation. And we have a request for information, the RFI. We have the RFP, the request for proposal. And then we have an IFB, an invitation for bid. And these suffixes stand for C is construction, S is services, and G is goods. Now you'll notice that some of these solicitation numbers have a comma and a number after them. What that means is that this solicitation has been amended one time. This one has been amended twice. Before I create that response, I'd like to just open it up by clicking on the hyperlink, the number, and get familiar with the contents of this solicitation. I can tell that I'm in a solicitation because I have the type of solicitation and then the number up here in the top left. And then I've got my table of contents here on the left. Notice that I have an option to create my response from in here in the solicitation, and we will get to that in just a moment. I mentioned earlier, we are not using the messages button. If you come back over here to the left and look at your table of contents, you have the cover page, the overview, the requirements, and the contract terms. So scrolling down on my scroll bar on the right, I can view my cover page that just has the name and what department of the city it's for, and it has our CPO name. Then on the overview tab, I can see a little bit more information. Okay, now it does mention the addendum number 2. It has information about the schedule. But the main meat and potatoes of this solicitation are the requirements. When you come to the requirements section, it's going to show you a lot of information to read through in the form of folders. So what I recommend is you click up here to view and choose collapse all so that you can collapse your folders and just see how many folders you have and just get a little bit of orientation here. You can click that triangle to collapse or expand the folder. When I expand, I can look at my instructions and scroll down and read through. Then I can collapse that and look at section 2. I can look at section 3, required submittal forms, and section 4, the different addenda. That there are these paper clips for each attachment. So if I want to look at my contact directory form instructions, I can click this attachment icon, and I can click here, just click it to download the PDF. However, there are multiple paper clips, and the best way for me to get all of the forms associated with this project is to go up here to Actions, View Attachments. And that takes me to this screen where it lists all of the different attachments related to this project. I can then click Actions, Download All, and my browser is set to just download the zip file. It has created a zip file for me. I can come over to my File Explorer and unzip these attachments. I do not recommend that you use this on your phone or tablet because of the fact that the zip file is going to be a large file, especially depending on the project. So I do recommend that you do this from your desktop or laptop. Okay, so I'm going to click Done to just go back and review that one more time. What we did is we started scrolling down to read about everything in this solicitation. We can collapse and expand our folders here. And instead of clicking on each individual paper clip, we instead went up to Actions, View Attachments. Then we clicked on Actions, Download All, which downloaded a zip file for us. Again, we're going to click Done to go back one page. and to continue through. If we have contract terms defined for this project, they will be listed here. So the other options we have besides create response are actions respond, create response. That's the exact same thing as this orange button. And then we also have acknowledge addenda. So right now, if I create response, it's going to tell me you must acknowledge all addenda to this solicitation before responding. Do you want to continue? And again, the reason why it's doing that is because we know there are 2 addenda or amendments to this solicitation. So you have to acknowledge them. I'm going to say yes to continue. And this would have been the same if I had clicked create response from the previous page. So now in the top left, I know I am in the acknowledge addenda screen for this particular solicitation. I can highlight the first one, whichever row I want here. And it has a little area where I can say, yes, I am acknowledging this. Okay, I've already acknowledged that one in a previous session. And so then I can highlight this one and click the checkbox to say, yes, I've reviewed these changes. And what these changes are anything listed here. So in fact, it is an attachment. And so what it probably is a list of questions and those answers. So I've already acknowledged my first addendum. I now have my second addendum that I've acknowledged. So I'm going to submit that, but don't worry, I'm just submitting my acknowledgement of the addenda. So once I do that, it asks me if I want to create a response, and I'm going to say yes. So now we have acknowledged 2 addenda and we have created a response. And again, this top left part of my screen is going to orient me where I am. It looks a little different than I was just reading through the solicitation. Now this is my response. I also want to point out that if you create a response, even if you don't upload any documents or actually submit your response, it will help you, because even if you just create it and then save and close, you will be automatically emailed for any additional addendums or amendments that come out. So again, if you just create your response and then save and close, that ensures that you will get information about this project emailed to you. All right, so what we did is we went into the solicitation by clicking on the link here, and we created a response by clicking this orange create response button. And so in this case, we had already done that, so it just took me to the same one that I was in case I want to revise it. What I'm going to do is also save and close to show you the other ways to do this. Clicking done always brings me back one screen. And so here on my solicitation search results grid, I have a 1 under my responses. So this means I've created a response. I can click on that 1 to access the response. And here it is, it's response 1104845. It is a draft response, meaning it hasn't been submitted. And I can click the revise button here. That is the same thing as clicking into the solicitation, clicking create response, and it's just going to open my draft that I have for me. So that's how we manage these as we're working on them before they are submitted, because it will take you probably multiple days, multiple sessions before you are ready to submit the solicitation. So just keep that in mind. Don't wait till the last minute. Okay, so now we're on our Create Response Overview tab, and it just has our basic information. I'm clicking train stop 2, which is the requirements tab. It's a little cut off there, but it's requirements. It's the same thing as clicking the next button. We can navigate with these next and back buttons. And I mentioned earlier, we don't use the messages feature right now in Oracle. And then the options that we have under actions are, we can go back and view the solicitation itself. We can view a PDF of our response as it is so far. And then we also have this validate option. This validate option is actually something that happens whenever I click the submit button. It's the same thing. And what it does is it makes sure that any areas where there's a required form, I have attached that form. So if I click validate, it's going to tell me anything that I haven't entered. Okay, it's saying you must enter response attachments for requirement 1 in section 2 and requirement 1 in section 3. So I know that I am missing those documents. It's the same thing if I hit submit, it's going to go through that same validation. So the system will not let you submit it without something attached in a required attachment area. In a response screen, the table of contents is on the right. Remember, on the solicitation, it was on the left. But this is our response. And so we can click here to go to different sections. And in order to add an attachment or upload an attachment, I will click the radio button and then click the plus sign and then click choose file. I can navigate to my file that I want to upload. I'm going to choose that and just click OK. So now not only do I have the radio button selected, but I also can see my file name here. I repeat this for every time I see a radio button. And then my last section, just going to double check if I have anything. Now there's not a radio button, so I don't need to add anything here. So at this point, I can save and close, or I can submit. I can also click on that actions validate. Says it was validated without errors, so I can submit. Now again, when you click submit, it will run that validation for you. I do recommend that you click the third train stop there or next to go to the review area, and it will let you just scroll through the different sections to see what's in there. Just to double check it, if you want to have a coworker check it for you, you can see. Now there's nowhere for you to make changes here, and I've received calls about this. Remember, you're in the review of this response. So if you do want to make a change, you just need to go back to the requirements train stop 2 and then go to the section where you want to make a change. And so maybe my coworker has informed me of some changes. We need to change this document. What you'll do is click on that plus sign, and you can highlight the row and click the X to remove it, saying yes, the selected records will be deleted. Do you want to continue? I'm going to say yes. And then I click the plus sign and just do it over again and choose the new file that I want to upload. And click OK. All right, so again, I can save and close or submit. I'm going to submit. And it will give me this confirmation. It says the response to the solicitation was submitted. This is the only confirmation I get. I do not get an email. So if I want to do a little snipping tool of it, I can do that. And just, screenshot it, or I can just click OK. And it tells me my status is active, and that means this response has been successfully submitted. So I submitted it 3 days earlier, and I can click done. So I want to review just a little bit. I'm going to click done one more time to go out. So remember, we started this whole journey here from the Supplier Portal after logging in. we clicked on View Active Solicitations, and we set up our search criteria and saved it so that we don't have to do that every time. And that lets us see the search results here in the results grid. And then what we did is we clicked on the solicitation number just to view the solicitation. We went to Actions, View, View Attachments, and then we clicked on Actions Download All to get a zip file of all of the different documents. And then we clicked Create Response to create our response. Now, again, when you have created the response already and you're working on it actively, it's going to show up in this responses column here. So I responded to 2 of these, and they are listed here. I'm going to click Done one more time to go back one page and just talk about the Manage Responses option here. Now, again, all different types of solicitations are going to be listed here. Your business may not care about all of them, only certain ones. And so you may only have 1 or 2 responses here and there. But you've got this option to go into Manage Responses. And so you can see I have been demonstrating this and responding to various solicitations here. And I've got various statuses for my different responses. Each response has a number. Each response has a status. So for these bottom 2, I submitted my response. It had an active status, and then the project was either closed or in this case was canceled. And so that means that, you know, no response has won an award for the project. It was canceled. But even if it was closed, it could say pending award because we are deciding who gets the business. These 2 responses are drafts because I haven't submitted them. And it looks like this is saying that I need to resubmit it because there was an addendum. Well, I already have resubmitted. You can see that this number is higher than this number and it's active. I acknowledge that second amendment or addendum. This one is relative to the first one, so I can ignore this. This is an active status. I submitted it successfully. So if I do want to revise a submitted response, I highlight the row and click Revise. That is going to open up my response, and it will let me navigate through and make any changes I want. Now notice that it actually gave me another number. So now this is a new one. It's going to replace the one I've already sent in when I submit it. If I never submit this, then you can see I still have my active one that I submitted that is what is going to be evaluated. And then I have this one that is going to be discarded if I never submit it. So again, if it says active, that is the one you submitted. That is the one that is going to be evaluated. But you have until the closing day at 2 p.m. Eastern to submit any changes. All right, I'm going to click Done and then just review from the View Active Solicitations page. Scrolling over, I now have 2 responses for this particular project. If I click on that number 2, it shows me both of them. So then depending on what I want to do, if I don't want this draft one, I really don't want to make any changes, then I can delete this draft, or I can revise it. Maybe I do have changes I want to submit, in which case it's the same thing as clicking Revise on top of that grid. And so maybe I want to change one of my attachments like we saw. Click the plus sign, highlight the row to click, and then click the X to remove it. Click the plus sign again. Navigate to the file that we want to attach and click OK. So now when I submit this one, this is the one ending in 6. tells me it was submitted. And you can see this is the active one. So now if I go back to my grid, I just have the one response because it archived the old one and replaced it with this new one. So let's go into manage responses. Here's this new one. So the one that was 845, that one was archived. We don't need that one anymore. It was replaced with this one. This is the one that will be evaluated. This one will not be evaluated. It hasn't been submitted. Neither will this one. Clicking on done.